The Dallas Morning News with the headline, suited and booted. It was the Cowboys' fifth straight divisional playoff loss, and they now have just 2 playoff wins in 20 years. Jason Garrett received a lot of criticism post-game for that play calling. We brought back Will Kane for this conversation.
How many playoff wins do you need to win a Super Bowl in a single season,
3.
Stephen A?
Three minimum.
Got it.
Max, at some point,
At this point, it's 23 years to
At
win a Super
least
Bowl.
he didn't bring up the Giants,
At some points, this becomes unattractive, Max. I'm giving you a piece of advice.
Stephen A., I want to start with you. Would you consider moving on from Jason Garrett?
Yes, I would. And and I'm being very, very serious here. Keep in mind that Jason Garrett is my coach of the year, and I would still consider moving on. Here's why. I'm going to explain.
I hope so.
If you remember, the Dallas Cowboys won 2 Super Bowl titles. Jerry Jones gets rid of Jimmy Johnson. Why? Because of their relationship, et cetera, et cetera. The prerequisite, this notion that you have to have a winning, you can have a winning record and that automatically ensures your stability. I think over time we've seen examples where that has gone out the window. Chip Kelly, for example, was a bad influence in Philadelphia, but he had a 26-21 record. Went to the playoffs 1 out of 2 years. They didn't nosedive. And so what happens is you look at a bevy of situations that have taken place over the years in the National Football League. There comes a point in time where sometimes guys are gone because you might not be that guy to get us over the hump. I want to be clear. Jason Garrett did a good job this year. Jason Garrett, some would say, can coach. Jason Garrett, some would say, has had a bad rap. I'm looking at a guy that's been the coach here since he took over in 2010. They went 6-10 that year. They were 3 back-to-back 8-8 seasons, back-to-back-to-back. Then he had a winning year. Then they went 4-12 last year. He has another winning season this year. But not one single playoff victory in seven seasons as a head coach. I'm sorry, 1 playoff victory. I apologize. When they beat Detroit.
I don't forget.
When they beat Detroit.
There is one.
How could you?
I'm simply saying, again, I would have a hard time letting him go. But if Jerry Jones sat up there and said, I'm getting rid of Jason Garrett, it's not because he's incompetent. It's not because he can't coach. I have a small window of opportunity right now. I'm not getting any younger. I look at the young talent that we have. I'm not interested in waiting to see y'all grow and evolve together. I kind of need it now, and he made that as the reason. I couldn't knock him for
They
it.
got a young offensive line, a very young quarterback, and a young running back. They're all great. I mean, like, barring injury, they could all wind up in the Hall of Fame. And so I don't think there's real time pressure. Jason Garrett had a problem at the end of this game in terms of clock management, essentially. But let's not forget, like, Marty Schottenheimer once upon a time. He can't win in the playoffs. How'd it go when you got rid of Marty Schottenheimer? Did you like it more or less? Andy Reid has a problem with clock management and timeouts at the end of games and stuff. You think Andy Reid's a good coach or not? There's so much more. That's one facet of being a coach that sticks out like a sore thumb when it doesn't go well. But there are so many others, and Jason Garrett has done an excellent job. And I would love for the Cowboys to get rid of him because it would speak to dysfunction, which I wish upon the Cowboys.
Yes, so number one, it's either just completely crazy analysis from someone to say within a 30-second span that they think Jason Garrett's coach of the year, and second, for them to be fired, or it's sabotage in and of itself right here, hoping that the Cowboys do something so completely inane. You would never fire a guy. Max, your analysis is spot on. There's many aspects to coaching. Jason Garrett did not do a good job in this game. There were failures from this game from beginning to end. You talked about clock management. You don't come out with the game with procedural mistakes, Bryce Butler getting huddle penalties, getting guys 12 men on the field. These were coaching problems. The first quarter and a half of the Cowboys game plan were coaching problems, and that's Jason Garrett's fault because the guy at the top is the one that has to be responsible for that. But building a team, building a franchise that can win 13 games, that is set up to be competing for Super Bowls for the next 5 years, that's also part of the job. Chip Kelly's a horrible example. The ones you gave are good. I'll give you another name, Marvin Lewis. This is a guy who gets his team back in the playoffs in year after year and has playoff failures. You're right on Jason Garrett's playoff failures. You're right on that. But it's not time to react emotionally, as you're so apt to do, with histrionics and fire a man that you would give the Coach of the Year award to. You let this play out. The process is in place. This team will win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. It will happen. I heard you mock that point earlier. It's going to happen.
First of all, a couple of things. I'm insulted by anybody sitting there and looking at my emotions and talking about I'm apt to get people fired. I wanted Jeff Fisher fired. 22 years, 16 years missing the playoffs. I wanted Marvin Lewis fired. 14 years on a job, not one single playoff experience. I wanted Gus Bradley fired because the team gave up on him. I wanted Rex Ryan fired because 6 consecutive years, this man has been a head coach and has not had one single playoff appearance. But let me go to the other playoff stuff. I recall a guy by the name of John Fox. Took Denver to a Super Bowl. Went 13-3, 13-3, 12-4. What did John Elway elect to do? Go with Gary Kubiak. We need something different.
Been a mistake, though.
I'm simply saying to you, Kubiak won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
my point to you
you've
is
made some good points about Kubiak.
Listen, what I'm saying is that I'm not looking at what your abilities are as a coach based on your record. I'm simply saying if I'm Jerry Jones and I made the decision to let Jason Garrett go, I don't think you can summarily insult it because, again, it's not just about, oh, all right, I know you could coach. It's about, look, I got some young Lions. There's a window of opportunity. I'm not so sure you can get it over the hump.
Why are you putting none of the blame on Scott Linehan, though? Why is this all on the head coach?
Because ultimately they're answerable to the head coach. Let me ask a question, and I'll just throw this out there. And it's on a collegiate level. Fair enough. But this same team, with some of the mistakes that they made, one could argue discipline, one could argue coordinators, et cetera, et cetera. If a Nick Saban were coaching the team, what would we say?
I want to say something about the job Jason Garrett did, though. Here's the bottom line. The Cowboys were so good, even in that game, that with all the mistakes Jason Garrett made, and that's partly to a credit to the general manager, Stephen Jones, really, and also to the players and the head coach. They were so good that in spite of all the mistakes, Will, you pointed many of them out, and we agree with them strategically. Why aren't you running the ball, et cetera, clock management at the end. Despite being down 3 scores early in the game, they never gave up. They clawed all the way back, and they eventually lost to the best quarterback who's ever done it. And when they did lose, the field goal was good by this much from 50 yards plus. So that's a hell of a way to lose.
That final point needs to be underlined with exclamation points. A rookie quarterback came back from down 21-3 to tie the game twice with what many consider to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time playing at the peak of his game. You come out here wearing the jersey. I'm the one giving Aaron Rodgers credit. I'm the one talking about what an incredible performance was. In no way does losing to Aaron Rodgers yesterday, I can point to mistakes too, and I have. Jason Garrett made mistakes. But at the end of the day, you don't fire someone for losing to Aaron Rodgers playing at an immortal level.
But Will Kane, I never said he should be gone because of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying
he lost.
No, I'm saying to you, he's been on the job a number of years. This was his 7th season, 6.5, basically. You're right, it's 6 full seasons. He has 1 playoff victory. I'm simply saying there are guys that deserve to be head coaches in this league because their body of work have proven they know the game. But still, for a particular situation, they might not be ideal. That's not insulting.
I'll give you this.
That's all I'm saying.
I'll give you this.
That's all I'm saying.
Jason Garrett should not be untouchable. You make some points, and as a fan, I'm watching, and I want to see some results soon. But now, that's history on things.
Yeah, and I do think part of the reason they abandoned the run initially is because after seeing the Giants game and those Giants receivers that dropped the ball, but they were able to get open against that secondary, so that's where all the passing came from initially.
If I'm 74 or 75 years old, and I think the clock is ticking, which Jerry Jones has been on the record saying, and I have the young Lions that I have, I might ask myself that question. My window is closing. I don't know how much time I have left.
All right.
Do I think this dude can do it now?
Speaking of the